I have a confession to make. I think that I might be addicted and obsessed with um, Daggerfall. And it's basically for no real reason, like, that I can explain. Um, but, like, it's just a simulator of, like, living in a fantasy world. It's just a fantasy world simulator. Like, and it's not even that, like, I'm experiencing anything crazy. I mean, I kind of am. Like, I'll just explain what I just played through. So I was driving home from work, and I had the thought that it might be it like if I want to play the game by walking across the map or like by riding my horse across the map, then what I should do is actually chart a course. And so my idea was, well, what if I just went along the coastline from the top of the map to the bottom, like all the way? And so that's exactly what I decided to do. So I loaded up my Khajiit character. I almost went to my back to my Nord character, but then I decided I really didn't really feel like it. I think that I might keep the Nord character on the main quest and have him do that, and have the Khajiit character just kind of do this traveling stuff that I like to do. So the Khajiit, um, I put her at the top of the map on the left, um, like as high as I could go, basically. Not at the edge of the map, but just traveled to a town up there. I forget what the town is called. And then I just got on my horse and went to the beach and started going south. And then I encountered a centaur, but I pacified the centaur by using my centaurian skill. It just automatically happens in Daggerfall. Sometimes you can pacify enemies just if you have the skill for it, because it's like your character converses with them and then kind of makes friends, right? So my character did that with a centaur, and what's crazy is actually that happened like three more times, again with a centaur and two times with orcs, which was really cool just during my whole session. Um, and I started following the beach anyway after this first centaur. And at first I was like, I'm gonna actually make the horse go at walking pace, which is like very slow. It's like half as slow as like the normal trotting pace. And then I realized like, no, there's no way that I'm going to do that because it would just take too long. Like there's no reason to do that. That's just a little bit too much. So I started moving at like a normal pace, not really sprinting, but just a normal pace. And I decided to just like after probably like 5 minutes into it, I decided that it was probably going to be pretty boring to follow the beach the whole way because I realized I would basically be very limited with what terrain that I would get to see and probably wouldn't encounter any dungeons and that sort of thing. And probably would only encounter so many towns, and literally 50% of my view would always be ocean if I was at the beach. So I didn't want that. So I decided I would just I would still follow the coast generally, and I'm still going to try to do that. Um, or at least my plan is still to go through the whole map, like from top left and like travel either along the coast roughly or just travel by land to the bottom in the like Alakir desert area. Um, but I basically decided I'm not going to follow the beach like I at first was going to do, and I'm gonna just kind of go into the wild a bit. And I'm glad I did that. And basically, it's like I was basically just doing what I wanted to do because I saw some cool mountains and stuff, and I went I went to them. And there was one point where I got this feeling, and it was like playing Minecraft for the first time when I was out in the wild, and I saw this particular like a mountain area that was like a plateau. And I'm like, why is it generated like that? I was wondering if maybe there was a dungeon on top, but it was a really big area. And I just saw this, it's like this, the region I was in was like a beautiful green, like half forest, half fields, um, like temperate biome, I guess. And it's just a really pretty area, honestly. And it just reminded me of like classic Minecraft. And it gave me a particular feeling that I honestly hadn't had in a long time. And it's just like that's what games are supposed to do to make supposed to make you feel stuff. And it was just a magical sort of feeling. It's like, wow, I'm really out in this huge world, and I could go there, and I might be able to find some things that I wouldn't be able to otherwise know was there. And I know that there's, only Daggerfall dungeons, and I'm not gonna find any castles or like secret caves or ancient ruins that are totally abandoned or anything. I'm not really gonna find anything special, but in my imagination, I could. So I'm still exploring, like, because in my imagination, I could still find something. And so it's still fun because the wilderness is so vast. It's like maybe there's something out there. Like, maybe. I mean, for all I know, I could stumble upon some main quest thing, which probably not gonna happen, really. But I found a few different towns, um, and I actually entered one town. I don't know what's up with this, but there was a notice like on a board of one town where it said like any followers or any members of like this a certain temple of RK or like an order would be persecuted by the law. I don't know what was up with that, but I was glad that I wasn't a member of that order. So I was able to go into the town, and basically I started following the roads because I got a quest pretty quickly because I went into a tavern and I'm like I want to find a dungeon that I can walk to like in real time and have that journey. And so I found this woman that needed help, and she basically had a curse on her, and this curse was basically like skeletons would come whenever she tried to rest and attack her, and it also was a curse that affected her family. So she was more worried about her family's safety. And she's like, please help me go to this dungeon and find this icon so that I can, like, destroy this curse on me. And I'm like, all right, we'll go do it. And the location, we had 10 days to do this, and the location was 3 days away. I'm still not sure how long a Daggerfall day is, um, but it's gotta be like a half hour or 40 minutes or something. Because I'm pretty sure I just played for like 3 hours. So, or maybe it's like 2 hours, I don't know. That I was during this quest, but I definitely played for like 3 hours at least, maybe 3 or 4 hours. Um, so this quest was the majority of my time playing, and after I accepted this quest, I saw that the road, which led outside of this town, led pretty much directly to the dungeon, and I just started following the road. And at first, I was just gonna manually walk there, and I wasn't really gonna do anything but pay attention to the game. Then I was like, yeah, maybe I'll put something on. So, I'm experiencing the horse ride still. Um, but I'm also like pulling up YouTube and like just browsing the internet and just seeing what's up. And like at one point I opened TikTok and I'm watching TikToks while my horse moves forward. And basically the way I'm seeing it is like, my character, it would be a lot more interesting for my character traveling in person, like than it is for me looking at a computer screen with the limited like amount of mechanisms and functions that I can perform. Like the real person is gonna be able to talk to the person next to them, and they're going to stop to eat, and they're going to have bathroom breaks, and they're going to be able to smell everything and feel the wind and things like that. And basically what I'm getting at is it would have been a lot more of an interesting experience for my character than it was for me. So I didn't really feel bad about looking away from the screen while my horse went forward. I just wanted to experience how much time it took, basically. So I put my horse and I kind of occasionally would guide him. And whenever I would stop at a town along this road, I might buy stuff, and I was like selling things. Um, I bought a bunch of books, and I basically ran out of money trying to buy all of the real Baron Zaya books. I read those in Morrowind and maybe in Skyrim and maybe Oblivion, or like one or the other. I don't know if that's actually in Oblivion. I think they are. Um, I think I read them all in Morrowind, and I liked that story to the point where I'm like, when I saw the character Baron Zaya in Daggerfall, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I think you can see her in the Morrowind DLC as well, but I don't really remember. Um, I'm pretty sure you can actually. I don't remember what she looks like, is what I'm saying. Um, so I wasted all my, and I was down to like 174 gold, which for Daggerfall isn't very much because if you stay at an inn, that's like 50 gold pieces. And I think that might have actually been, um, I don't think that wasn't the what started me on this quest because I was already doing that. But I was just like, well, it's a good thing I'm going to this dungeon because I need money. Um, I might I might be misremembering the timeline of things, but I know that I bought a bunch of these books, ran out of money, got to the dungeon, started killing everything, and made a bunch of money back. My character doesn't have a lot of carry weight, so when I'm in a dungeon, I can't really bring a lot out. My last character, the Nord, could like carry 140 pounds, but this character can only carry 90, and like 45 of it is always taken up by their weapons and armor. So I really can't carry very many like pieces of armor or anything to sell out of the dungeon. I mean, I could carry them to the wagon and then go back in or whatever, but I don't want to do that. And besides, I don't really need a lot of money in the game anyway. So, you know. But I basically went on this journey, and I do think that, like if I recall, I either stopped in an inn or I would rest out in the wild a few times. I think I stopped in an inn once or twice, maybe just once to sleep. Um, but I definitely rested outside a few times. I remember because every time you rest outside, you get attacked by an absurd amount of monsters. It's like, this doesn't even make any sense. Because you can travel through the wild at nighttime, and it's really not that dangerous. Um, but as soon as you try to rest, suddenly enemies spawn and they try to kill you. Um, But like when you're just traveling, there's not really a difference during the day or during at night. Like occasionally you'll encounter some enemy, but when you rest, it like doesn't really matter when. I don't think you'll just like be attacked. Um, and it's kind of stupid because sometimes you'll fight like 8 enemies trying to rest in one single location. It just doesn't even it just doesn't even make sense. It gets absurd. At one point, I pacified an orc um, that came to attack me while I was resting, or I guess in a roleplay sense, maybe he wasn't necessarily going to attack me at first, but anyway, I pacified this orc, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I was gonna walk away, but then I'm like, no, actually, I'm gonna rest and then have him fight whatever comes up, because I figured he would do that. So I rested, and then a wereboar came up, and it immediately killed the orc. So and then I had to kill the wereboar. But then I was a little bit wounded. Actually, I can't remember if I went to rest again or if there was just a giant behind me. But at some point, a giant showed up, and I'm like, why is there a giant? And then I shot like 20 arrows trying to kill this giant. And finally, it died. And so I went to rest again because he had hit me a few times, which is why I had started using arrows. Because I got on my horse, ran away some, and then shot at it. I tried to rest again. Then like a bandit shows up or something, like a werewolf shows up, like another giant. It was crazy, and like it's like why is there so many monsters attacking me? But I finally made it through the night and everything was dead. There was just like 8 bodies around me. It's like okay, and then I continued on the road. Eventually, after a few towns, probably like several towns actually, um, I finally got to the curve in the road, which I knew meant I was near the dungeon. So I took one last look at the map, and then I was like, alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to not look at the map again, and I'm going to find the dungeon myself. And then, like 3 minutes later, I found the dungeon because I was walking through the wild and I saw an area with like suspiciously flat terrain, and I was like, oh yeah, it's generated over there. And it was. And then I went in this dungeon, and so like the NPC when they're following you, they're basically added to your inventory, but they're not really anywhere in the world, and you basically just do everything. But I went into this dungeon and it's full of like sorcerers, a strange amount of healers for some reason. Um, and it's got harpies and skeletons. And every time I rested, like a bunch of enemies would come out, like a very strange amount for the dungeon. Like it was honestly really weird because I've never had that happen in a dungeon. Also, this dungeon, the structure of it was very strange to me because when I went inside, I actually started down low and then the dungeon went up instead of going like down. So like the 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 icon that like the quest item at the end of the dungeon was actually like up several flights of stairs to get there. Um, which is just I didn't even know that Daggerfall could do that because like every other dungeon that I had went into would always go down and never go up. And it didn't exactly make a lot of sense because the entrance to the dungeon acted like it was going down. Um, but I guess maybe it could have worked, like if the entrance just went down and then went back up. I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna think about it too hard. I really wasn't too pressed about it, but it was an odd thing because it just wasn't what it looked like from the outside. Um, and it was really cool actually. So I got to the end of this quest, and the the quest giver like we find this icon which she's supposed to use to break her curse, and then she takes it and does something with it, I guess. And then she says, okay, the last part of the quest, she's like, the last part to break this curse is that you have, like, we have to appease the vengeance of this warlock or whatever. Um, and she just asked me to kill her. Um, you know, all of this, like, is lame, by the way, in Jesus' name. Because, I don't know. It's just like weird magic stuff. Um, but she's like, okay, you have to kill me now. And I'm like, the game gave me a choice to either kill her or to not kill her. And I'm like, I don't want to kill her. And I wasn't sure what would happen. If I killed her, she said that I could just take the quest reward from her corpse. And honestly, I wasn't really too interested in the gold or anything. But then there was the option to just not kill her. And I wanted to know what both options did, but my last save wasn't like it wasn't too far, but it was far enough where I was like, I don't want to reload after I make this decision. So I got to think about this. And I'm like, it might not be necessary to kill her. Maybe she's wrong. So I'm not going to do it. Like if she wants to die, she's gonna have to figure that out herself because that's not my problem. And like, I'm just not gonna do that. Like, that just seems wrong. So I declined. And then she's like, okay, I understand. I'll find somebody else to kill me. And then it's like, oh. And then she just left, and it's like, oh, that's it. No, like 5 seconds later, the game pops up a message and says that I heard an agonizing scream. Um, and apparently the curse, like, ended that way. So something killed her basically, and it was probably the skeletons that kept attacking her, because that was what the curse was. Like skeletons kept attacking her. But it's terrible that it said it was an agonizing scream because when it offered me to kill her, she specifically requested that it be painless and quick. Um, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can do that with a sword. Like maybe I could chop off your head, but that's still not going to be painless. Like there's no way. Um, but yeah, it wasn't. It apparently she didn't go easily because it said an agonizing scream. So it's like, okay, you're literally in torturous pain as you die. That's great. And the outcome wasn't any different, but I had to make that choice. And then that was it. And I didn't wasn't sure if like the game had spawned an enemy or something, or if her corpse would be anywhere. I didn't see anything. I didn't look very hard though. I just was like, all right, I'm gonna leave the dungeon. So I left, and it was like, wow, that really took me. It doesn't sound very long when I'm talking about it, but that experience really took me like 3 hours in real life, and it really felt like I went on an actual journey. It was like a Dungeons and Dragons or like a tabletop RPG game quest where you actually invest a lot of time into it. Because when you're playing like a TTRPG um, with pen and paper or like on Roll20 or something, you might get a quest and it takes you multiple sessions to go do whatever you have to do. So it can take several real life weeks, but of course it's really like just several hours. But it's over several real life weeks as you have to space the sessions out. In this case, it was like the longest quest, I think, like the longest single quest, um, actually, maybe not. That's a terrifying thought. It might not be the longest time I've spent on a quest in a video game, but I'm not sure what that would be. Like, I'm sitting here wondering, like, maybe I've put more time into collecting Nirnroot and I don't know it. That's a terrifying thought. Because anyway, I had a lot of fun, and it's like, something about that is so cool. Like, it felt very real. Like, it was a real thing that I had to, like, go and do. And just the subtle, not subtle, but the simple flavor text that the game gave me for the quest was enough. Like, it didn't have to be anything complicated to be worth playing. It didn't have to be like this masterful writing either. It was just a simple story of like, hey, I've got a curse. Oh, you won't kill me? Okay, I'll go die then. And then she dies. And it's like, oh, well, what a way for that to end. And then that was it. Like, the journey was over. Um, and it still just, it came to a resolution. Like, it felt like an episode of Star Trek or something. You know, like, it felt like an episode of a TV show where I went and, like, did something. You know, the only thing that they could have spiced this up is, like, if the NPC could have talked to me over, like, the 3-day journey and I could have conversed with her or something, you know? And it's making me really actually, like, disappointed that we did not have procedural world generation in future Elder Scrolls games. I know, well, it's just that if the other, like, a game like Skyrim never would have become as popular as it did if it didn't have the graphics that it did. I personally like the way Daggerfall looks, and as it is right now, um, if a game much more advanced came out, um, that simulated everything, you know, on a much more deep and complex level, but had Daggerfall graphics, I would like that, and I would not mind what it looks like. I like the way it looks. Like, it doesn't have to be realistic looking to me. Um, I'm disappointed that there isn't anything else like Daggerfall, to the best of my knowledge, that does it better. Because the game came out in '96, I think, 1996, and it has been 30 years, and nobody has taken the whole idea of Daggerfall. Because I mean, like, it's not like, if you're like a AAA company or something, you could easily build something like Daggerfall and then go from there and, like, do more with it. But nobody's ever done that. Like, okay, so the game world is apparently the size of Great Britain. Imagine how much stuff you could put in a game world the size of Great Britain. And nobody has ever thought to do that. Like, and you know what I was thinking, like, you know, on the one hand, it's really cool how in the later Elder Scrolls games, when you visit a town, you know all of the characters there, and they all have their voices and their specific personalities. And every player that plays the game, like, if I say, you know, like, uh, Fargoth, or um, how do I not say a main quest character? Because, like, obviously, Okay, or like Faendal. Okay, so you know who those characters are, right? Fargroth or Faendal. Maybe you don't know who Faendal or Fargroth are, but maybe you should. You should know who those characters are if you've played Morrowind and Skyrim. But the thing is if you were like that it's kind of unrealistic, isn't it, to like know all these people. Like because if you were an adventurer traveling in this vast world, because what my character does, either of my characters, is they travel to one town and then they leave on other business and they never return, like basically ever. So it's like you don't necessarily, I feel like you don't need um these like fully fleshed out characters. But I mean it's cool, and I'm not saying one thing is better than the other or whatever, but I am saying you could take what Daggerfall has done and do it better, and it would be a good game. Like the direction they were going in is a good idea, but the potential just hasn't been realized yet, and that's really, really disappointing. Um, Now, do I think that Daggerfall is the best Elder Scrolls game? No. Do I think that Skyrim is the best Elder Scrolls game? Yes. Yes, I do. Um, but, but, um, I'll say this. I like the formula of current Elder Scrolls games. I'm not optimistic about the next Elder Scrolls game. Really, I don't really play a lot of modern games, but I want somebody to take the concept, the formula of Daggerfall, and improve upon it. And I almost want to try to do it because, like, the biggest obstacle would just be generating. I mean, a lot of obstacles actually, like how I can't code or anything. Okay, Daggerfall Unity exists in the Unity engine, so you could do that in Unity, and then you could do it better. Why has nobody done this? Like, why not? I don't understand. Like, why not procedurally generate a big open air world and then like have all these like towns and villages and dungeons generate and then just like add a bunch of, you know, different items and then like whenever you feel like updating the game, you can just update it and like add more stuff to the world. And anytime you want to handcraft something, you can put something in the world that's handcrafted. So imagine if Daggerfall like has all of its open space and its random generation. But then after they did that, they moved in and they added like even like 50%, even only like half of the effort of what they put in for like fine handcrafted work of the later games. It would still be a lot of content, and it would also be like within this big sandbox. And then there's plenty of room for modders to add more, and the game developers could even add more if they wanted to. I mean, they're probably not going to do that, especially if it's a AAA company. But I mean, they can do DLC and they can charge people for it. I don't know. So basically, I really like how big Daggerfall's world is, and after modding it to the point where I can see very, very far, and I've added roads, and the terrain generation's a bit different to be a bit more realistic looking. I'm having a blast, and it's like my brain is just enthralled. like captivated by these concepts and like this big world. Um, and I'm probably going to play more Daggerfall tomorrow. But it's very late for me, so I need to go to bed.